If you had asked me 6 months ago if I trusted my wife, I would have laughed. Of course, I did. Mia wasn't just my wife, she was my person. The kind of woman who made life easy to love. We had been married for 6 years, and in that time, not once did I ever question her. Until now. Lately, something had shifted. Subtle at first. The kind of thing you notice but don't want to admit. She started locking her phone. A woman who used to toss it onto the couch, screen up, without a second thought. Her gym routine changed, too. She used to go in the mornings, but now it was late at night, always when I was working or already asleep. Then there were the moments where she'd glance at me like she wanted to say something, and then wouldn't. I told myself it was stress. Work had been crazy for both of us. Maybe she just needed space. But the thing that stuck with me the most? She had stopped saying, "I love you," first. Mia had always been the one to say it first. Every single time. Before bed, before leaving for work, before hanging up the phone. But now. Now, she only said it after I did. Like she was waiting. Measuring. Forcing it. I didn't want to believe it meant anything. I needed to believe we were still okay. But deep down, something was wrong. I could feel it. Like a storm waiting to break. And soon. I was about to hear it. Some betrayals hit you all at once, like a gunshot. Others? They come in pieces. Tiny, seemingly harmless details that don't make sense on their own. Until one day, they do. That day started like any other. Mia had left for work before me, rushing out the door with nothing but a distracted kiss on my cheek. No, I love you. Just a quick, absent-minded, see you tonight. I told myself it didn't mean anything. An hour later, I grabbed my keys and headed to my car, only to remember hers was parked behind mine in the driveway. I sighed. Mia never blocked me in. She always left her car on the street. Another small change. Another detail that didn't quite fit. I decided to take her car instead, just for the morning. She wouldn't mind. I slid into the driver's seat, adjusting it back from her smaller frame, and that's when I saw them. Her AirPods. They were sitting in the cup holder, one still out of the case. A faint green light glowed from the charging case, signaling that at least one of them was still active. Still connected. I picked them up without thinking, my fingers closing around the smooth plastic. I expected silence. Maybe some background noise from wherever she last used them. A forgotten podcast. A song. But the moment I put one in my ear, I heard voices. Not a recording. Not a podcast. A live conversation. My pulse spiked. Mia's voice came through, clear as day. And then. A man's voice. Laughing. I gripped the steering wheel, my breath catching in my throat. She was talking to someone. Right now. And she had no idea I was listening. My heart slammed against my ribs. For a second, I just sat there, motionless, gripping the AirPod in my ear, too stunned to process what was happening. Mia's voice was crystal clear. She was speaking right now. This wasn't a saved voicemail. This wasn't a podcast. It was live. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to breathe. Maybe this was nothing. Maybe she was on a work call. Maybe I was overreacting. I adjusted the volume and listened harder. I know, Mia said, her voice playful, almost giddy. I can't believe I pulled it off either. A man chuckled. Not me. Another man. Something icy crawled up my spine. Who the hell was she talking to? My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I should have stopped right there. Should have taken the AirPod out, tossed it back into the cup holder, and gone about my day. But I couldn't. Because deep down, I already knew. This wasn't a work call. This wasn't innocent. And if I stopped listening now, I would spend the rest of my life wondering. So I did the one thing I knew would either break me or set me free. I turned off my car. Closed my eyes. And kept listening. My breathing felt too loud. The car was silent, but inside my head, everything was screaming. Mia's voice was still coming through the AirPod, soft, teasing, dangerous. "You have no idea how hard it is to keep a straight face around him," she said, her tone dripping with amusement. The man on the other end chuckled. Low. Confident. Familiar. "Yeah," he said. "And he still doesn't suspect a thing." I sat up straighter, my pulse roaring in my ears. Mia sighed dramatically. "Not even close." Then I heard it, her laugh. Not the one she gave me. Not the soft, absent-minded chuckle she used when I told her about my day. This was different. Free. Effortless. The kind of laugh that comes from being with someone who sees you. I knew that laugh. Because once upon a time, it had been mine. My throat went dry, my entire body rigid. This wasn't happening. Please let this be a misunderstanding. Please let this be some kind of joke. But then. The final nail in the coffin. The man's voice dropped, lower now. Intimate. "I can't wait to see you again." "And Mia?" She didn't hesitate. "Soon, baby. I promise." The world lurched. Something inside me, something I had spent 6 years building, shattered. I had heard enough. I yanked the AirPod out of my ear, my hands shaking. My breath came fast, too fast. I could barely see straight. Mia was cheating. And she was laughing about it. Like I was the joke. I sat there, frozen. The world outside my car blurred into nothing, just a haze of colors and movement that no longer mattered. Because everything that mattered was gone. Mia's words still rang in my ears, sharp as broken glass. Not even close. Soon, baby. I promise. I had replayed those words so many times in my head that they no longer sounded real. But they were. My wife, the woman I had built my entire life around, was lying to me. Worse than that, she was laughing about it. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was proud of it. My hand trembled as I set the AirPod down in the cup holder. My heartbeat pounded so hard I could feel it in my skull, my chest, my fingertips. This was the moment where the rest of my life split in two. Before this, I was a man who believed in his marriage. After this, I was a man who knew it had already ended. The spiral. I needed to be sure. I grabbed the AirPod, shoved it back in my ear, and rewound the audio. I don't even know why. Maybe some twisted part of me thought I had misheard. Maybe if I listened again, I would catch some detail that proved this was just a misunderstanding. But the second I heard her voice again, light, playful, completely at ease, I knew there was no misunderstanding. God, he's so clueless, she giggled. The man on the other end chuckled with her. I told you. You're too good at this. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. Who the hell was he? The voice was familiar, but muffled just enough that I couldn't place it. A coworker? A gym trainer? A stranger? I didn't know. But I would find out. And when I did, I didn't know what I was going to do. The breaking point. Mia's voice turned softer now. Not the sharp teasing from before. This was affectionate. Dangerous. I really do miss you. I closed my eyes, willing myself to stay calm. But then he answered. I miss you too, baby. Last time wasn't enough. Last time. My stomach twisted. This wasn't a first-time mistake. This wasn't drunken regret or one bad decision. This was repeated. Deliberate. Ongoing. I let out a slow, shaky breath, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers turned white. Everything inside me screamed to drive straight home, slam the AirPods onto the counter, and demand answers. To make her look me in the eyes and tell me the truth. But I already knew the truth. And now? I had a choice. I could let this destroy me. Or I could make sure she regretted every second of it. I didn't remember driving home. One moment, I was sitting in Mia's car, my hands trembling around the AirPod, my heart hammering so hard it felt like it was trying to break free from my ribs. The next, I was in my driveway, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles had turned bone white. I was drenched in rage. Not the kind that makes you lash out instantly. No, this was worse. This was the kind of rage that boiled slow and deep, the kind that got sharper with every passing second. The kind that didn't fade, it only grew. Mia was cheating on me. Mia was laughing about it. And the worst part? She thought I was too stupid to ever find out. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to steady my breath, but her voice wouldn't stop playing in my head. Not even close. I miss you too, baby. Last time wasn't enough. Every single word was a hammer, beating into the foundation of our marriage until there was nothing left but ruins. How long had this been going on? My mind raced through the past few months, searching for signs I had missed. The late-night gym sessions. The new passwords. The shift in the way she looked at me, not with love, not even with indifference. With guilt. I should have seen it. I should have known. But I had spent 6 years believing Mia was mine, that she was good, faithful, incapable of doing something like this. I had been a fool. Not anymore. Replaying the evidence. I yanked the AirPod out of my ear and stared at it, hating the way my fingers shook. This tiny, stupid piece of plastic had just shattered my entire world. But I needed to hear it again. I needed to be sure. I unlocked my phone and connected the AirPods. Checked the Bluetooth settings. Mia's name flashed across the screen. These were hers. No doubt. No excuses. I hit rewind. Pressed play. And let the recording destroy me all over again. Not even close. Soon, baby. I promise. Last time wasn't enough. I had never known what hatred felt like before now. Because that was the only word for it. Hatred. Hatred for her smug, teasing tone. Hatred for the man on the other end of the call. Hatred for myself, for ever believing I was enough for her. My stomach twisted as another realization hit me. She was still on the call. Still talking. Still laughing. Still betraying me in real time. I could have spoken. I could have said her name, right then and there, and listened to her world fall apart. I could have shattered the illusion the same way she had just shattered mine. But I didn't. Not yet. I wasn't going to just confront her. I was going to make her regret this. Looking for more proof. I stormed inside the house, my mind already spinning with next steps. I needed more. More evidence. More proof. I wasn't just going to yell, cry, or ask why like some broken man begging for answers. I was going to bury her in the truth. I went straight to the home office, unlocked my laptop, and pulled up our phone bill records. My fingers flew over the keyboard, my pulse racing. There it was. An unfamiliar number in the logs. Over. And over. And over. Late at night. During work hours. Even when we were sitting in the same house. It made me sick. I copied the number into my phone and searched it. And when the name popped up, I nearly put my fist through the screen. It was someone I knew. Someone I had trusted. Someone who had looked me in the eye and smiled like nothing was happening. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. This wasn't just Mia's betrayal anymore. This was personal. And by the time this was over, they would both wish they had never met me. I don't remember how long I sat there, staring at that name on my screen. The rage inside me had already reached a point where it wasn't just anger anymore, it was cold. Calculated. Dangerous. Because the name flashing on my phone. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't some anonymous mistake. It was Ethan. My best friend. The man who had stood next to me at my wedding, grinning like he was proud to be my best man. The guy who had helped me move into this house, drank beers with me on my back porch, acted like a brother. And all this time, he was screwing my wife. Something inside me snapped. I had to move. I had to do something. I grabbed Mia's AirPods, shoved them into my pocket, and strode out of my office. My footsteps felt heavy. Purposeful. The house was too quiet, like it was bracing itself for what was coming. Mia wasn't home yet. Good. Because I needed a minute to figure out exactly how I was going to destroy her. The calm before the storm. I didn't yell. I didn't punch a wall. I just stood in our kitchen, gripping the counter, breathing slow and deep. Letting the weight of it all settle in. 6 years. 6 years of my life. Gone. She had kissed me with his hand still on her. Slept next to me after being with him. And Ethan? He had laughed with me. Given me advice. Told me how lucky I was to have her. I had trusted them both. And now? Now, it was time for the truth. The moment she knew. I heard the garage door open. A second later, Mia strolled in, tossing her bag on the counter like it was any other day. She didn't notice me at first. She was too busy scrolling on her phone. Probably texting him. "Hey, babe," she said absently. "Dinner plans tonight?" I didn't answer. She finally looked up, and the second her eyes met mine, something in her face changed. I saw it. That flicker of panic. She knew. Not everything, not yet, but she knew something was wrong. She tried to mask it, but I caught the way she tucked her phone screen against her palm, the way she sized me up. "Jake?" she asked, her voice lighter now, forced. "Everything okay?" I smiled. It wasn't a real smile. I reached into my pocket and pulled out her AirPods. Then I set them on the counter. Right in front of her. "Guess what I heard today?" I asked. She froze. And in that single moment, I saw her entire world collapse. Her breath hitched. She swallowed, hard. "What?" Her voice came out shaky, but she tried to hide it. "What do you mean?" I tilted my head. Studying her. Watching her squirm. "I took your car this morning," I said, slowly, deliberately. "Found these in the cup holder." One was still playing. I watched her hands grip the edge of the counter like she needed something to hold on to. "Mia," I said, locking eyes with her. "Who were you talking to?" She blinked, lips parting, but nothing came out. The hesitation was enough. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and hit play. Her voice filled the kitchen, her voice. Her words. Her betrayal. Not even close. "I miss you too, baby. Last time wasn't enough." Her entire body stiffened. I could see her brain racing for an escape. Deny it? Lie. Cry. She tried. "Jake, I held up a hand. Shut her down. No, my voice was calm. Controlled. Deadly. No excuses. No lies. Just tell me the truth." She opened her mouth. Closed it. And for the first time in our marriage, Mia had nothing to say. I exhaled slowly. Finally. The moment of truth. "Who is he?" I asked, even though I already knew. She flinched. Just for a second. Then she whispered his name. "Ethan." I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because I had one. She had just given me everything I needed to destroy them both. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The house was silent, but inside my head, everything was burning. Mia had just said his name. Ethan. The word still hung in the air between us, like smoke after an explosion, thick, suffocating, impossible to ignore. She stood across from me, gripping the counter so hard her knuckles had turned white. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to say something, anything, but nothing came out. Because there was nothing she could say. I had caught her. Red-handed. No more lies. No more excuses. No more pretending. She knew it. And so did I. I let the silence stretch, watching her squirm. Letting her sit in it. Then, finally, I spoke. How long? Mia flinched. Jake, her voice was barely a whisper. Please. How long? She swallowed hard, eyes flickering toward the door, like she wanted to run. Like she thought she still had a way out of this. I wasn't going to let her. I slammed my fist on the counter, making her jump. How long, Mia? Don't make me ask again. Her shoulders slumped. She looked away, blinking rapidly, like if she didn't meet my eyes, she could pretend this wasn't happening. Then, finally, she muttered, 4 months. 4 months. I almost laughed. I had spent 6 years loving this woman. 6 years believing in us. And for 4 months, she had been sneaking around behind my back. Sleeping with my best friend. My fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. And then? Then she had the audacity to start crying. I never meant for this to happen, she whispered, voice trembling. I swear, Jake, I held up a hand. Don't. My voice was cold. Flat. Do not stand there and tell me this was a mistake. A mistake is a one-time thing, Mia. This was a choice. Every time you saw him, every time you lied to me, every time you let him touch you, you chose this. Tears rolled down her cheeks now, but I felt nothing. She wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she got caught. I love you, she whispered. Pathetic. I scoffed. You don't love me. She shook her head violently. I do, Jake. Shut up. Her mouth snapped shut. And that's when she realized. I wasn't going to forgive her. The turning point. I took a step back. Mia inhaled sharply. Jake, please. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, opened my messages, and scrolled to Ethan's number. Then, I hit call. Her entire body tensed. The line rang once. Twice. Then. Yo, Jake, what's up, man? Oh, you have no idea. I put the call on speaker. Mia just told me everything, I said casually. Too casually. Silence. Then, a forced chuckle. What? I smiled. I wanted him to sweat. Come on, Ethan, I said, leaning against the counter. You don't have to play dumb. I know about the late-night calls. The meetups. The little secret you two have been keeping for 4 months. I heard a sharp breath on the other end. Panic. Jake, listen, man, I think there's been some kind of. Click. I hung up. Mia gasped. Jake, what are you? I want him to freak out, I said, staring her down. I want him to wonder if I'm going to show up at his place. If I'm going to call his wife. Her eyes went wide. Jake, no. His wife. I let out a low chuckle. Oh, so now you care about ruining someone's marriage? She flinched like I had slapped her. Good. She should. The final blow. I exhaled slowly, rolling my shoulders back. I wasn't done. I pulled a manila envelope out of the drawer and tossed it onto the counter between us. Mia stared at it like it was a bomb. In a way, it was. "What is that?" she asked weakly. "Divorce papers." Her breath hitched. "Jake, no. I already signed them." I tapped the envelope. "Now it's your turn." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Please," she whispered. "Jake, I don't want this. I want us. I want to fix this." I shook my head. "You can't fix something that's already dead." She reached for my hand. I pulled away. She let out a broken sob. "Good. She deserved that, too." "I trusted you," I said quietly. "I built my life around you. And the entire time, you were burning it down behind my back." Her face crumbled. I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. "Jake." She ran after me. "Where are you going?" I paused, glancing over my shoulder. "Anywhere you're not." Then I walked out. And for the first time in 4 months, I was free. Epilogue, the aftermath. Mia signed the divorce papers. She had no choice. Ethan. His wife found out, too. I made sure of it. She took their house, the kids, the cars, everything. Mia tried reaching out a few times. Apologizing. Begging. I never responded. Because she wasn't my problem anymore. And that? That was the best revenge of all. If you were in my place, would you forgive her? Type yes or no in the comments.